Have a nice flight.
And people say Germans aren't funny.
Hi, I'm Cram, and today we're taking a look at Platinum Games' Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which was originally going to be released under Kojima Productions, but was handed over to Platinum Games after the original team ran into problems. It's been a rocky ride, but at last there is a game here. Rising follows the story of Metal Gear Solid 2 hero Raiden, who after being revamped in Metal Gear Solid 4 as the super badass cyborg ninja from the whiny stealth agent in making, gamers have been crying out to relive some of his greatest action moments themselves. That seems to be the premise behind this game, as gone is the cool and substantiated stealth in favour of a more anime-inspired action experience. From the offset, the game's Japanese roots are made very clear, and as players fight their way through the game's linear levels, will encounter all manner of oversized mechs and opposing cyborgs. The plot is extremely far-fetched and lacks the emotive qualities of other Metal Gear Solid games. Whilst there is an underlying message here, it's somewhat lost in all the jumping and sword swiping. The game does try to follow its roots with radio conversations and some cutscenes, but ultimately these do not work and simply slow down the game, which would rather sprint forwards at a great pace. Luckily, gamers who are impatient and just want to kill can skip the scenes and moments where Raiden is forced to walk very slowly. The combat in this game is pretty solid, where the main focus lies on combos and being able to slice enemies into many pieces. Gamers can also slice parts of the scenery, but this is disjointed as some obvious things like crates cannot be cut, whereas stone pillars can. Where it works best is during combat with the human or mech enemies, where players can push forwards to counter parry and then enter a slow motion mode of precise cutting. Whilst this can be an automated process, there's a bit more skill in severing particular body parts for bonuses using the free cutting mode option. The combat is very satisfying, although the biggest issue comes from the poor camera, which loses track of your enemies when close to walls. There is a lock-on function, but this seems to be worthwhile versus single opponents rather than groups. It's great to pull off various attack moves and end the sequence with bits of body falling to the ground, but in a way is rather comical and over the top. Aside from the regular opponents, boss can make themselves known throughout the game, and often some really cool and intense battles. The last boss in particular can be a real pain if you're not paying attention to his weaknesses. However, on the whole, most encounters are pretty easy. It means you can plough through the entire game in under 6 hours. Graphically, the game looks decent enough, but lacking the style of Metal Gear Solid 4. Sadly, the level design is quite dull, with few memorable moments or areas to take in the scenery. It's pretty basic, and perhaps this is partially due to the cutting mechanic or lack of development time. It certainly doesn't look as pretty as the early footage shown of the game. Audio is of a reasonable standard, with all performances sitting more on the theatrical rather than menacing, and fits with the anime style of the game. The music is fast-paced and once again features screaming guitars and heavy-hitting tunes to suit the gameplay. Whilst the style might not be to everyone's taste, it does work. Metal Gear Rising offers a short campaign to wade through and allows players to partake in VR missions which are activated by terminals found in the levels. Whilst there's some off-the-beaten-track exploration, it's quite understated here. It's a short game that does offer enough cool moments to warrant a second or third playthrough, especially if you're a completionist who wants all the upgrades and achievements. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a cool game, but lacking in depth, and is quite easy to just breeze through without too much thought. It lacks the presence and grandeur of Metal Gear Solid games, but as a spin-off for the series is a valiant effort. Due to its brevity, it's hard to recommend this game at full price, but once the price does come down, then it might be worth a shot. Fans will no doubt lap up the game due to the Metal Gear references, but anyone else will find a fairly bland offering. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance scores a reasonable 7 out of 10. I'm Cram, thanks for watching.